Hi there, it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me again today for another croquis episode. Today I have a slightly different project for you. It's basically white on white. I'm hoping you can see it, but there will be photographs on my website, which is linked immediately below. Do remember also that if you don't already subscribe, you can do so by clicking the bottom right hand corner at any point during this video. So this is the project that I'm going to show you how to make. It uses pretty much all of the Peaceful Moments and Painted Poppies bundles. And I don't mean all, but uses items from both this and the dies that go with. So if you've got these, that's absolutely perfect. If you don't, do remember that if you get them as a bundle, using the bundle code, you save 10% on the cost of the stamp set and the matching dies. So always a good thing to remember. Now, I've tried to speed the process of making this up a bit by doing some of the die cutting ahead of time. Having said that, generally speaking, I would say do your stamping, then your die cutting. I will have to die cut one item, but only one. So I'm using a lot of vellum. I do love vellum, so it has a nice ethereal look to it. But let me make sure I've got the right sides showing, which I have now. So I'm going to be doing some heat embossing with white embossing powder. I keep all of my embossing powders in tubs, so that I can just sort of dabble things into them. But otherwise you could just use a piece of paper, scrap paper, as the collection point, if you like, for your powder, and then you can pour it back into your pot. So I'm going to take this little poppy, which is from the Painted Poppies set. The stamps, apart from the sentiment, are all from that set, so the imagery is all from that. So the problem, of course, with vellum is it's very difficult to see. So that is that. Let me just dabble that into my embossing powder without smudging it. So I just like to go in a couple of times just to make sure I've got good coverage, and then just tap off any excess. And then when I've done all of my stamping, I will then heat set. So we'll only use the heat setter the once. So I'm going to use the leaves as well, but I'm also going to use this lovely little poppy image that's sort of looking rather sad. I always think it looks as if it's crying a bit. That might just be that my brain is not working properly, and that's, you know, just one of those crazy moments that I have. So this is where I would say you would be better, if you're doing this at home, to actually stamp first and die cut later. Then you can make sure that you are absolutely in the right place with your stamping. I'm just living life dangerously and hoping for the best. So far so good, which means that the next one is bound to go wrong. So let's find it first. There we go. And always use your embossing buddy first. That's quite an important step. I keep my embossing buddy on top of my Versamark, and I keep my Versamark upside down so that the ink is always on the surface for me. It's just how I've got used to. There's a lot of embossing buddy floating around. It's just how I've got used to doing things, and it works for me. So otherwise I have a habit of forgetting where my embossing buddy is and then forgetting to use it. So even if I know where it is, I forget to use it anyway. But by keeping it on my Versamark, it's a visual reminder that I need to use it. Right, so that's all of the embossing powder that I'm going to need. So let's pop that out of harm's way and grab my trusty cheese board and heat up my heat tool. Now I use a fold back clip just to keep everything in place when I heat emboss. So do remember that we're still in celebration. and that we've got second release products probably already released at the point when you're seeing this. Not quite sure when this is going live, but there are second release products coming on the 3rd of March. So you do need to be quite careful when you're heat embossing vellum. It goes much quicker than when you're heat embossing ordinary paper, and you can warp your vellum quite easily if you're not careful. So let me just pop that one underneath, get rid of any stray embossing powder. And you may be able to see just how quickly this is going. And you don't want to overheat it, or it goes a rather nasty matte, as opposed to the nice shiny glossy that we're getting here. Assuming I can actually get it off. And then the last one, pop that there, and again blast this one. Now this one I am going to die cut. So there are a couple of bits down here that are stray that I'm not worried about, because that's going to be cut away. So, okay, so that I need to make sure is really set before I before I die cut. Now, let me show you the other bits while that's drying. Let me show, or setting is probably a better word, the other pieces I'm using. So from the, let me get the right set. This is from the Poppy Moments dies, which go with the Peaceful Moments stamp set. So it goes with the sentiments. So we've got the leaves in two. This, normally you would do this and layer it over the top. I'm going to use them as separate. And then again, you would normally die cut the whole leaf and put this over the top. But I'm going to use it, them separately. And then I've also got in the Petal Pink vellum, which is part of the Perennial Essence suite in the annual catalogue. I've die cut using the large die from the Poppy Moments. So what I mean by that, let me show you. So I have used, oops, there it is. So I've used that die from Peaceful Moments, or from Poppy Moments, I should say, and this die from the other set, and they don't actually layer completely, but one is smaller than the other, and if you're careful, you can get just this frame, and it's just a nice little pop of colour to lift everything just a little bit. I'm going to need the small, just put it away of course, I'm going to use the small one of these to die cut the image that we've just heat embossed. So I'll just do that off camera, otherwise I have to lug in my die cutting machine. So we wind that through and bring it back over. So there we go. That is our image just nicely die cut. Don't need those anymore. I do need to make sure I put them back in the right set because they are very similar but not quite the same. Okay, so I punched using one of the label punches from the new mini catalogue, just a piece of Whisper White, purely because I need something in the middle to kind of, I don't know, lift everything up a bit. I probably want to move it slightly further down so that it's a bit more hidden under this label. So I think what I'll do is pop it there. And I'm going to just use a very small amount of snail. Because I'm going to be layering things, I'm not too worried that it will show. But it is quite useful to have something a bit more solid than vellum as a kind of platform for everything to hang off. So this is then going to layer over there. That's better. That's much better. So this is going to layer over there, and then this is going to layer over there, and then this is going to wrap round. And then we're going to tuck bits underneath. So I'm going to use my liquid adhesive to add glue to the back of this, and I'm going to pop it along the heat embossed line, assuming I can get any of it out. There we go. So follow that heat embossing, because then it will be hidden. So anywhere where there's some heat embossing, you can add just a little bit of glue and it won't then show through, but it will stick because this is good adhesive. So we are good to go. So I'll go just there, I think. So that will all sit quite nicely, and I'm going to pop that over the top just for the moment. Right, now I've got lots of Whisper White. These are what I would call the smooth, and this is thick. All the measurements will be on my website, which is linked below. So this is the one I'm going to use to layer everything up. And the first thing I want to do is get some of the ribbon from the Poppy suite and just add it, and it's going to go underneath everything just here. And I'm going to add it in 2 bits, so I'm going to have one. And actually I can probably do it just in 1 piece. And then a second we'll have just there. So 1 piece is just a bit longer than the other. I am going to just trim this down because it will show through, so I don't want any stray ends. Okay, so I'm going to pop some dimensionals on the back of here, just a couple, and then I'm going to start tucking things in underneath once I have got that added on. So let's pop that. So we'll have that just there. Might come over a smidge. There we go. Right, now this I'm going to stick just here, but I want this to kind of, other way up, I want this to be kind of coming underneath and on top and, you know, just tucking around it. So, first thing I'm going to do is add some adhesive to the back of this. We've got this lovely bit in the middle that is fairly solid, and that's probably the only bit I'm going to stick down. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. Never ever allow yourself to get ill when you're supposed to be filming. It's not a good idea. Right, so that goes there, and then here I'm going to just add some teeny weeny bits of adhesive, just the smallest smidgens of adhesive, and I'm keeping them mostly at the top and the sides because the bottom is going to come off. And then this I'm going to tuck. This is where you need 5 hands, of course, because I want this to tuck under there, over there. Ooh. What I don't want it to do is actually line up accurately, because that kind of spoils the whole idea. There we go, that's there or thereabouts. Okay, so now I can start popping bits in underneath. I'm going to have the wispy leaves up the top here, and again I'm going to use liquid adhesive because underneath all the layers it really won't show. So just a little bit at the bottom there, and then we can tuck this in underneath, just there. And then I want a couple of these, or certainly one, I think, probably to start with. And again, I'm just going to add some adhesive to the bottom, and then pop this on top, and press that down. And then this I'm going to rip and just have 3 leaves, and again I'm going to add some adhesive to the bottom and pop in underneath, and then these 2, again just a little bit of adhesive at the bottom, pop one there and one on the other side. And then just press everything down. Find your lid. There we go. And then to add a little bit of a finishing touch, I've got some of the basic pearls, which apparently are falling off. So let's take that. And I'm going to put them in little clumps of 3. Oops, because I do like my odd numbers. So 1, 2, 3, oops, 3 there, using my Take Your Pick tool. I love this thing. It is such a good tool for just picking up these sorts of things. And then lastly up here, so I've got 3 little groups of 3 pearls in 3 areas, forming a triangle around my finished piece. And then I just need to add liquid adhesive to this layer. This is the larger of the 2 mats, she says, hoping that I have managed to get them the right way round. Yes, hurrah! There is no... I really wouldn't be surprised today if things were wrong. Press that from the back. And then I'm going to stamp on the inside. Now, on the original, I used Petal Pink, just as a very subtle, wishing you every happiness this special day will bring. I thought that was quite a nice sentiment for something this soft, because you could use it as a wedding card, that sort of thing. That's where I'm coming from anyway. Let me take that off and pick up that and grab my ink. I am just going to fold my card. I like to fold my card before I stamp on the inside, just in case I'm slightly off at the bottom, which I am here. I've got this slightly longer piece here, so that will be the front, and then I can stamp knowing that this is the back. And I just like, if there is a little, you know, 0.5 millimetre or something out, it's just better to have that, the longer piece at the front. It just sits better. So let me just add some adhesive to the back of this. And then we are done. 18 minutes later. Oh well. We did do quite a lot of heat embossing, even if I did do the die cutting earlier. You can see why I did the die cutting earlier now, can't you? Press from the back, making sure therefore that any smudges don't come on the front of your card. So there we are, 2 really pretty with a pop of colour cards using the Poppies, but in a slightly different way. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Questions or comments you can leave below. And as I say, subscribe just there. During celebration, remember, for every £45 you spend in my online store, you get to choose something from the celebration offering for free. So it's £45 for a level 1 or £90 for a level 2. And you can get as many as you like, which is amazing. Thank you very much indeed for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.